Welcome to the Falling into Autumn YouTube collaboration. In this collaboration, we need to use orange coloring and pumpkin. So the one part of the coloring that I'm going to do is in my embed, and that's what I'm doing right now, creating the color for the embed. This collaboration has 65 different soapers working on the theme of falling into autumn in their way. And I would love for you to check out the other videos. They are listed below in the description box. My particular expression is falling into autumn by a wind-blown pumpkin patch. So as I am creating my embed, I'm using both red iron oxide and orange oxide and putting them into a 7.5 inch tube. I'm letting it sit, and then I will be unmolding it here. When I created this construction, I used this little end piece that held everything in place that was in the tube, along with the parchment paper that I had at the end. And I was so tickled when everything just slid out of there and gave me opportunity to have my little cylinder, 1.5 inch cylinder, and create my pumpkin as my embed. Autumn is definitely one of the most favorite times of the year for me. I love the crisp air and the falling of the leaves and being able to harvest the garden. And pumpkin is definitely another of my favorite things about autumn. I'm scraping the excess soap off of my cylinder and putting it into a mold that I created with 100% silicone in a tube and cornstarch. I used metal napkin rings with different impressions of leaves and of acorns, and so I wanted to create some of those to potentially use them for another soap that I may be making. My molding tools were a plastic spoon, as you saw, and then I took this skewer and tried to create a smoother edge for the bottom of my pumpkin. And here are the leaves that were created from the leftover soap that I had. Now it's time to create the base for the soap so that we can put the embed into it. And I want to bring this to a light emulsion so that I can break it off. I finally got my gloves on. And the very first layer that I want to do is the bottom layer. And I sectioned off just a tad bit, maybe 6 or 7 ounces. And I'm going to put pumpkin spice in the bottom because I want this to be like dirt in the bottom of the soap for the pumpkin to sit on. We will set this aside and prepare the other portions. So I didn't just want my pumpkin to be orange, but I wanted to be able to have other colors in there as well. And I portioned out some chromium green pigment that I had created in oil. And then I decided to portion out some of the orange oxide so that I could put some of that within the soap as well. And then I made some with red oxide, and I used the plain red oxide for part of this mixture. And then I decided to use some of the red oxide that has blue shade in it to create an even darker red. Now it's time to add our pumpkin puree and finish the last bit of soap batter before we begin to create, which is the most fun part of soaping for me. First, we'll texture our pumpkin spice layer and place our pumpkin on top of it. It was a little bit softer than I expected. And then we'll add some green for the very top of it and begin creating our design. I wanted to try and get some extra color in the layers, so now I'm using that darker red. And now some orange. And adding the pumpkin pureed portion of the soap batter between those two additions. I wanted it to have a wind-blown look, so I used my hanger to swirl just a tad bit to give it a different type of a look potentially, and then finished it off with the orange and the red and green layers and put a bit of a swirl on top of it. Here we are 24 hours later, and we are going to go ahead and cut our soap and see what we have inside. There we are. You can see the pumpkin. Somewhat of a wind-blown look. The reds and the orange streaks aren't as prominent, and the green is a little bit lighter than I expected it to be. So here are the final soaps with the pumpkin, and I made some little leaves from soap dough. So I'd like to attach the little leaf onto the front of the soap. I have some of my melt and pour in here, and I'm going to melt that down to use and use my brush. As I'm attaching these pumpkin leaves, I'd like to ask you to comment, what is your most favorite part of autumn? And I hope that you have enjoyed watching this process. I've really enjoyed creating it and sharing it with you. And please check out the other YouTube videos that are in the description box, and I trust that you have a wonderful September and enjoy the weather as autumn joins us. And if you've never tried soap with pumpkin puree in it, please give it a try and see just how luxurious it is on your skin. God bless everyone. Bye.